I'm CM Magana from the Strange and Unusual podcast, a proud member of the Gonna Geek Network, just like the show you're listening to now. The opinions expressed are those of each individual host. Check out all the other podcasts at GonnaGeekNetwork.com and get ready because geekiness begins in 3, 2, 1.
This is it. The part of your week where you get to put your headphones on, relax, and listen to a bunch of geeks geek out about geeky things. They're witty.
He loves him some Katy Perry because she kissed a girl and she liked it.
They're crazy.
I like Nickelback personally, but, I'm the fuddy-duddy who likes episode 1.
And sometimes they leave you wondering, what the
I'm pretty sure that here we were starting the hashtag movement, Bring Back Slave Ferrell.
Gonna Geek Productions presents the official GonnaGeek.com show.
Hello and welcome to episode 194 of the official GonnaGeek.com show. I'm Stephen Jondrew, and with me, of course, is Chris Ferrell.
So none of us are using the same mics as you see in the intro anymore. Hooray, gear addicts!
We also have with us, of course, the fantastic Stargate Pioneer 320.
My microphone is better than Chris's microphone because I have the pop filter.
Well, just learn not to pop your peas and you're good.
That's true, actually.
It's never going to happen.
Yeah, you should just not talk into the barrel of the microphone and then pop the podcast pop peas.
You don't want to talk about podcasting where I pop my peas?
And we're pleased to say that today we're still scratching our head trying to figure this out. Why does he keep coming back? I don't know, but Sunkast is joining us. Hello, Sunkast.
I hopped off the plane at LAX with a dream and a cardigan.
Welcome to the land of fame excess. Am I gonna fit in? Didn't think I'd know that, did you?
Did you bring any lollipops with you when you got off the plane at LA?
I probably did. I have them hidden away,
Were
for
they
emergencies.
expired?
Probably.
Oh, man. So, yeah, Sunkast is back. And for those who are first-time listeners, Sunkast is a member of the GFQ network. In fact, some would call him the legend behind the GFQ network.
It's a one-man show at this point, so yes.
What you're saying is that you just are controlling the whole operation now. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
What I take away from this is Sunkast is the GFQ network.
I am, and not only I'm not from Queens.
So it's false advertising is what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay, cool. That's fine. That's okay. I'm trying to think of some form of clever way we can change GFQ to be your name. I don't know. I got nothing. That's appropriate that I can say on a podcast where I can't swear.
Well, go ahead and bleep it out, Steven. I want to hear this.
I don't want to do that. That makes editing Steven have to do more work. I'm conscious of him.
It's a treat for the live viewers. You should let us know what it is you're thinking instead of talking out your butt like you have an idea.
No, I'm not going to do that.
Still waiting.
All right. So, Sunkast, let me ask you this.
Sure.
If somebody wanted to follow you on a daily basis, where would they follow you on Twitter?
On Twitter, they would follow me at Sunkast. It's spelled with a K, not a C. So I know a lot of people are like, Sunkast, Sunkast. Nope, with a K.
You just like to make things difficult for everybody, don't you?
I do. That's me.
It's more like he doesn't want to get sued by the hose reel company.
That was a year ago now. Okay, so for you new listeners, I made a joke a long time ago because I was out doing some yard work, and what did I see on my hose reel? The name Sunkast, except it had a C, and that showed up like last week in my Facebook memories.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
it was a year ago.
Awesome.
Yeah, you as a hose reel made my Facebook memories.
And I just want to thank Sunkast for letting me have his seat on this show because I am the new Sunkast. I'm the Sunkast replacement. That's what's going on here.
I thought that we switched back somewhere along the way. I lost track, but I thought somewhere we flipped back.
No, it was my seat, then it was Sunkast's seat, and then he graciously gave me his seat. So
Okay.
I am
Okay.
in Sunkast's seat.
Okay, so that's right. I got you now. And then you originally replaced John D, and John D came in as a replacement for the Fanboy Buzz. So essentially, you are in the Fanboy Buzz's seat. Is that right?
And I killed the fanboy Buzz.
So therefore, Chris is responsible for Stargate Pioneer. Boom. There you
Oh,
go.
man.
Thanks, Dad.
You're welcome, son.
Well, let's just go ahead and move on to our main topics here. But before we get there, let's remind you that we are part of the Gonna Geek Network. And also on the Gonna Geek Network is a fine quality program called All Things Good and Nerdy. And you can check that out live every Sunday at Geeks.live because they do stream live. But in the latest episode of All Things Good and Nerdy, some craziness ensues as the show goes off the rail. Isn't that right, Chris?
It never goes on the rails.
Check that out at getageeknetwork.com. Here we go. All right, so this week, let's start off with free Google Play. That's right, free Google Play music, that is. That's not necessarily free Google Play apps or anything like that, but no, there is Google Play music free happening right now. What does that mean? Well, apparently, Google Play Music is offering to new customers a 4-month free trial period. This is something that they've recently increased because a lot of people have seen the 3 months before, but now they are offering 4 because they are trying to entice people to come in. This is interesting to me for a couple of reasons. Number one, because they're only increasing it a month. Okay, so a lot of times they've offered 3 free months. Like I got that with my phone. I've seen them offer that to people time and time again, and it's like they're trying to make this extra promotion by having an extra month, but not to all regions, of course, only to certain regions. But the second reason I find this fascinating is because this comes out shortly after somebody ended up, I believe it was Midia, M-I-D-I-A Insights, did an analysis of the different streaming apps. There was 2.3% of the market base using Deezer, 2.7% using Tidal. Third from the bottom was Google Play Music with 5.5%. SoundCloud was 6.1. That's right, SoundCloud actually beat out Google Play Music. Apple Music had 8.5%. Amazon Music had 10.7%. Spotify had 16.3%. And what was on top? YouTube
Pandora.
with 25% because they did classify music videos as that. So obviously the Google Play Music services is lacking. And I guess for me, I want them to succeed because I have an Android and I've actually been really impressed with the service, but there's just so many competitors right now that it's easy for them to get buried.
I take it this way: if I'm Google, I'm still winning because YouTube I have pretty much bundled with Google Play Music if I get a subscription. Because remember, a subscription to Google Play Music includes YouTube Red.
Right.
Oh, that's a good point. And I think like I don't actually use I can't get Google YouTube Red because in Canada we don't have that. But I know I would actually consider it though if we did have it here.
So what do you have? YouTube Maple Leaf?
That's the thing is because our colors are red, we would just be confused. We're a simple type.
How is that any different than any other day?
Oh man. Okay, so let's be honest here. Which of us actually pay for service for a music streaming service?
Pay for it or using free trials as they come and go?
Pay.
Technically I get Amazon Prime Music as part of my Prime subscription, so I am doing that, and I did start a 2-month trial of their tack-on service on top of that because it plays nice with my Amazon Voice Services device.
I don't pay for it. I did activate my trial not long ago, after we did that amazing Gonna Gleek trial, and I had one of those annoying songs stuck in my head. I decided to activate it. Just why not? But I wanted to try it because my brother actually was telling me about the family service, and he has the family service, and he's got like my mom set up on it. And I think that's where the sweet spot is if you've got multiple people who might use it. and you can get a family plan. I think that's the way to go.
I agree with that. Spotify has the same thing, and personally, I'm just so impressed with Spotify that if I were to pay for something, it probably would be Spotify. I love everything that they're doing. I love the Discover Weekly feature. I love the Release Radar, and it picks great music that I actually enjoy discovering.
Well, that's the other area that I think that has potential in the whole streaming thing. And I've seen the success in there is those playlists that really do set to a mood. I know my dad's big into the Sonos. Like, he's huge into the Sonos system, and he has for a very long time. And he used to use Rdio because there's some really good playlists in there. And then, of course, I forget who they got gobbled up by, but he ended up switching to Google Play Music. And he says one of the best ways that this services work is when you do have just a mood that you can select. So if you are doing something that you want a higher pace, it's nice because it integrates into Sonos, and now he's like cleaning or whatever, right? So I think that's a big element that is missing to a degree, because I don't know, every time I use Google Play Music, it's confusing to me.
I would have to agree with you on that, because I've tried Google Play in the past. It's been a while now since I've used it, but I just found it a little bit cumbersome and confusing compared to Spotify, where it's just, okay, let's just go find a particular artist, play that song, or here's a playlist of pop music or independent music or whatever you want to listen to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Chris, you said you were using the Amazon. What sort of customizability is in that?
So it's got a lot of the similar things you would see with Spotify and Google Play Music, where you can go and create your own playlist. You can get mood type things. They also offer a Pandora-like service where there's curated stations you can plug into. But really the thing I like about it the best is how well it plays with the Alexa devices, because I can say, hey, A-word, play Disturbed from the 90s, and it'll play just Disturbed music from the 90s. It's smart enough to do that. So you can give it specific like eras or specific albums you want to hear, and it's smart enough to make the determination as to what to play. So I've enjoyed my time with it. That being said, when my 2 months are up, I probably won't keep it, because honestly, what I listen to most of the time is Pandora on the free tier.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. Which in the chat, by the way, we have Albert Sims, who says, I listen to local FM classic rock station and ripped CDs and LPs. So there's still a lot of that happening. And I know, like, my mother-in-law, for example, she's got a USB drive and they just load it up with their music. So it works really well. And I think that's still a very viable option for a lot of people who don't want to pay the subscription.
The thing I like that Amazon's been doing also is some of the albums you can go and buy the physical album, and it has a little logo next to it that says auto rip. And basically what that means is as soon as you buy that from them, they put an MP3 copy in your Amazon account. So like the Guardians Volume 2 soundtrack was back ordered like 3 weeks, but it was an auto rip thing. So I said, okay, I'll buy the CD for 50 cents cheaper than buying the digital album, and I'll just wait 3 weeks for it to arrive. And I got the digital album that same night. So I just turned it on my Amazon Voice Services device and was rocking out while I was cleaning the kitchen.
Okay, well, I guess that would be a good way to do the digital music as well, is because I remember I'm thinking back to the whole comic thing where you'd buy a physical comic and then you'd end up getting the convenience of a download, and I like that idea. If you end up getting just a rip, that's a cool idea.
Right, and they don't do it with everything, but they've added in the past, because like I got an email from them at one point in time that says, we've expanded our auto rip catalog. Anything that you've bought in the last 2 years, now if it's auto rip enabled, we'll go back and give you those digital copies. So like I'd bought my mom a Mannheim Steamroller Christmas album because that's one of the things she likes. They went and auto ripped that for me, and I went, how the hell did I get Mannheim Steamroller in here? And I realized,
nice.
Oh, this is something I bought like 2 years ago and they put in my library.
Oh, that's cool. Good idea.
Nothing wrong with the steamroller.
No, there's not, but it's not something I would generally buy for myself. That's why I had a little moment of confusion.
I got a whole album. I got a whole playlist with Christmas music, and there's several Mannheim Steamroller songs.
Yeah,
in there.
it's May. Are you really listening to that playlist right now?
No, but in a few months I will. Got to remember, I'm from Minnesota. It starts getting cold really quick.
But maybe a better analogy would be like ELO. Nobody would ever play ELO. Electric Light Orchestra. Is that not the most amazing band ever?
I don't know what that is.
Terrible 70s band. Terrible 70s band.
Steven, I wasn't alive in the 70s.
I think what it kind of comes down to with this Google Play Music stuff is, yes, they're offering these incentives, especially with the 4 months now. That's pretty interesting. But at the same time, I don't think Google does a good job of marketing what it is and how to use Google Music compared to other music services such as Pandora, Amazon, or Spotify.
Well, that's the typical Google problem on a lot of their services, though, is they never really market them that well. So you stumble upon them and you're like, oh, this is awesome. How come people don't know about it? Because Google doesn't talk about it that much. Or if they do, then they rapidly change it or do some major modification to it a year later. And you're like, this sucks. I can't use it anymore.
Yeah.
Yep.
For sure. Well, moving on to our next news point, since we've talked enough about music and we all agree that it's got potential, but it's just not that great. I want SP to tell me today why bombing Mars was a mistake.
Oh, it's never a mistake when we bomb Mars. We bomb Mars on purpose. It's the whole thing of putting the Martians down. We have to assert our superiority over them. They've let their planet just go to bust, and we still have a great planet. So we need to lord it over those guys. So for those of you that don't remember, about a few months ago, 7 months ago or so, on October 19th, 2016, the Schiaparelli Mars lander failed and it bombed Mars. And we have some great photos from the orbiting Martian orbiters that looked down at high resolution, and they clearly saw that Schiaparelli was impacted over the course of like kilometers. It was just a huge mess. So the ESA this week has concluded what actually went wrong. So it basically failed to touch down safely, right? It bombed Mars. And what happened was things started to go wrong about 3 minutes after it hit the Martian atmosphere. And that was the time that the Schiaparelli lander deployed its parachute. And the problem was it began spinning. It spun just as fast as you could possibly spun. And it was unexpected, the quickness of the spinning, and the super fast rotation is what they called it, super fast rotation, saturated the spin measuring instrument. That's the official cause, by the way, spin measuring instrument, which resulted in a large altitude estimation error by the guidance, navigation, and control system. This is from an ESA statement last Wednesday, May 24, 2017. And as a direct result, it's not all bad news, guys. This is some good news with this. As a direct result of this inquiry, the ESA has discovered the areas that require particular attention that will benefit the Mars 2020 mission. Such quote-unquote weak spots include computer models of parachute behavior and software that needs to be upgraded. And if you want, the investigation team published its summary report back on May 18th, and you can read it at a link that we will put in the show notes. So yes, it's not all bad news. We have some good news. We need to do better for Mars 2020.
But I thought we were trying to bomb Mars.
It's never a mistake when we do, but we don't always want to.
Bomb, bomb, bomb. Bomb the Mars. Bomb, bomb, bomb.
Whoa. YouTube copyright. We don't want to get that, okay? We don't get flagged for that.
It's a parody. You're okay with parodies.
Oh, okay. Well, let's just go ahead and bomb Mars as much as we want because why
America.
not? It's just Mars is currently fully inhabited by robots. When have robots ever done us any good?
Ask the Cylons.
So let's just keep bombing Mars until those robots are no more.
But the robots that we send.
But they have probably since changed and become self-aware. That's why they stopped working.
Oh.
Steven, are you saying they've evolved and they have a plan?
That's true. They have evolved.
Are there many copies?
You don't know that it's BSG related. It could be like Viger, right? And just hundreds of years from now, they will come back.
SP, all of this has happened before. All of this will happen again.
Can't argue with that.
All along the watchtowers playing in your head right now, and you know it.
Which version, though? There's like 3 or 4 different versions associated with that series.
I default to the Bear McCreary version. but that's just me.
I've got that one queued up. It's on my playlist, by the way, that I play right next to my Christmas music.
All right, so let's go ahead and move on to our next news point now that we found out what SP did wrong when he bombed Mars, because it's always SP's fault when there's ever a space problem. Blame
It's
SP.
true.
There was nothing wrong. I wanted to bomb Mars, so I super saturated the spin measuring instrument. That's what I did. It
Yeah.
was intentional.
Exactly. What were you hiding? What were you covering up, SNASA?
That we will have to wait for that investigation to occur in 75 years.
Cue up the X-Files music right now.
Sunkast face right now, just the secrets. All right, so what's going on with Guardians there, Chris? What's new?
So you guys might have heard this little indie flick that Marvel Comics put out, Marvel Studios rather, called Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Well, here's some interesting numbers. We kind of all expected it, but according to Box Office Mojo, Guardians Volume 2 has raked in more cash domestically and internationally than the first movie. In the US, the sequel didn't see a huge cash grab when compared to the original movie. It raked in $333.21 million so far compared to the first movie's $333.18 million. However, the international pool has been much, much higher. The sequel has earned about $10 million more internationally than the first movie did. Pretty nice to see. The film's worldwide grosses have been nice so far. They're not going to hit the 1 billion mark. Box Office Mojo and the experts estimate they're going to crap out about the 800 million mark, but they're setting things up very nicely to potentially hit 1 billion with Volume 3. But hey, Marvel is not upset about this. Guardians Volume 2 is now the second highest grossing sequel in the MCU, right behind Avengers Age of Ultron. Who would have thought for a property 4 years ago we went, they're making Guardians of the Galaxy? That it would be this successful.
Yeah, I'll give you one of these for that, Chris. Apparently, it just half dung, but
So Chris is responsible for the success of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. That's what you're saying with that?
you know what? I'm not saying no, but I'm not saying
I'm so confused.
yes. Chris is 100% responsible for the entire history success of Guardians of the Galaxy. He is the sole person responsible for the success.
Well, and real quick side jag on Guardians of the Galaxy. Did you guys see that there is a theme park ride that opened in Disneyland for Guardians of the Galaxy this weekend?
I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
James Gunn was tweeting about it and people were sending him stuff. Evidently, it was so popular. There was a 5-hour wait to get on the Guardians of the Galaxy ride. I mean, it was opening weekend, but
it's normal. I mean, back in Epcot Center, I know it's not you're talking Disneyland, not Disney World, but in Epcot Center, I mean, in order to do Soaring when that first opened up, or the Mars ride that they had a few years ago, you had to run into the park and get one of those saver tickets just to get a ride during the day. And if you didn't do that within the first 15 minutes, you weren't getting on that ride during the day. This is no different than that. It's cool. It's Guardians of the Galaxy. I'd want to do that.
But see, luckily for some of us here, we actually are usually found in the park, so we don't need to run into it.
Yep. With lollipops.
Okay, so
in a van by the river.
I do think you hit it on the head, though, Chris, because this is something that years ago we were talking about, like, you know, what are the odds of this failing of Guardians of the Galaxy? We never thought it would be the success that it was. And again, I think it just showed, I've said this time and time again, I think it showed that people wanted just a non-serious, fun movie, and that's what they wanted, and that's what they got. And so then it enticed people to come back. And I think we're starting to see some of this, you know, take themselves serious trends, even like, you know, Avengers, where there are quips and things like that. I think that it's something that people are beginning to get exhausted, and Guardians is just out there, and I love it.
So
you're talking
the
about
opposite of Arrow and Flash on CW.
All right, Sunkast, you're going to these two. There you go.
He got full dings, though. I'm very upset.
Well, that's because he knows how I like to ring my ding, but...
Show name.
It's good.
Show name right there.
So what you're talking about, Steven, is superhero fatigue. And I think a lot of people have that. And I think one of the reasons why Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 succeeded is it wasn't, as you both stated before, Chris and Steven, it wasn't in that same genre. Although we're headed in there. We're headed in there with Affinity Wars. And the Marvel Universe is going to get tired of this at some point in time. Poor DC. I mean, they had Batman versus Superman, probably should have been the biggest movie ever to hit the planet. And they just didn't. I'm, you know what? Because of what happened, I'm not going to speak ill of the creative team, but they need to do something with that creative team over there. And I think they're in that process, but I think it's too late for the next couple of years. We have to wait like 2 years for the changes to take hold in the DC universe. So I'm just hoping that they do. And I'm hoping it's not too late because we do have that superhero fatigue. So only time will tell.
Isn't Justice League like less than a year away?
Right. And it's still in that box of
Jeff Johns is on board with that, though.
Yeah, but it started under the old regime, and I've just heard that they haven't changed much with it.
Yeah, I think, like, if I was a betting man, I would bet it leans more towards the old way than the new because of when it did launch. I think the start point is very critical, and I think we've actually seen that with some of the Avengers properties, but I don't know. I hope maybe they've had enough feedback that they have, put on some brakes pretty heavily. I will hope.
I'm going to disagree because look at the Justice League trailer that's already out there. It has more fun moments in it than anything else I've seen from the DC movies to this point.
But it might just be the solo parts of the movie that were thrown in there, kind of like Suicide Squad, kind of like that. But they've had a little bit more time to expand it, but it's still the basis of the movie. It's going to be dark brooding because that's what DC likes to do.
No, but this is the first one that Jeff Johns is involved with. And if you've read any of Jeff Johns' stuff, dark and brooding is not really the predominant theme on that. That's part of why everyone, including myself, was so excited that Jeff Johns, it was a bummer he left the comic side of the house, but joined the cinema side of the house.
I agree with that, Chris. The problem is these productions have a very strong foundation when they start. And it's one of the reasons why when you have a change in creative team along the way, that the product doesn't really turn out decently at the other end. And I'm legitimately worried at this point in time. And I'm taking a wait and see approach. But
don't get me wrong. I expect it's going to be crappy, but I hope I'm wrong.
Okay.
Well, let's all agree that generally the DC cinematic universe is garbage. We can all agree on that, right?
All agree. Disappointing, underwhelming.
And that they should bring back the 90s era Batman films. We can all agree on that, right?
Yes.
No, bring back the 90s era Batman cartoon.
What, you don't want Tommy Lee Jones as Two-Face?
He was the least offensive part of that movie.
Jim Carrey as the Riddler?
Still better than what they put out today.
I'll agree with that. But let's move on to our next news point here, which comes from Sunkast. And this is actually something that Sunkast first linked to us. And when he linked it to us privately in this little private group that we have, he said, everybody drop what you're doing right now. This is the most exciting thing that I have seen in years. Isn't that right, Sunkast?
Yeah, this is interesting because this is something that we've talked about privately like 2 weeks ago, and we're just now talking about it in a podcast form. But this is kind of interesting. We've been discussing this quite a bit on Gonna Geek for a number of years now, it seems like.
That's sad. How sad is that? It's been multiple years we've been talking about this.
It seems like it anyway. But yes, we're talking about Star Trek Discovery. We've had a lot of information come out, a lot of delays in production, a lot of casting news, just a lot of weird stuff going on with Star Trek Discovery. But we finally have our first look trailer at Star Trek Discovery. I don't know if you guys have actually watched this yet, but this is pretty cool the way that they've done this. It looks pretty cinematic. On one hand, I think it looks amazing what they've done, but on the other hand, it's pretty cinematic and it looks a lot like a movie and not like an episodic TV show like I'm expecting. But the
what's
gist
wrong
of it
with
is
that?
What's that?
What's wrong with that?
I want something different than the movies. Here's the thing: is I expect a TV show out of this. I'm not expecting a full blown drama that you would go and see at a movie theater, which is what this looks like.
Why is that any different than what's going on Netflix, on Amazon Prime, on Hulu today with their original series? They are creating cinema quality content in short little blocks of 6, 10, 12, 13 episodes. And why would Star Trek Discovery be any different? Because it is going on a streaming service.
Traditionally, though, Star Trek has been a TV-centric series, and that's what I've been expecting, and that's what I'm missing from Star Trek today, is that episodic deal that you would get with like Enterprise or Voyager. That's what I'm looking for today, but I don't think I'm going to get that from Star Trek Discovery.
I'm gonna just caution you here slightly, because I actually, when I saw it, thought the same thing that Chris thought when he saw it. Is it reminded him of the later portion of Enterprise, and I really liked the later portion of Enterprise, and I thought that it was a much larger, almost cinematic style arc. Yes, they ended up throwing in some little one-offs here and there, and that's what I'm hoping that we're getting with this. Is we're getting an overall Enterprise style or late Enterprise style series. But yeah, looking at the visual, like, this could be a movie trailer without question. In fact,
yeah,
remind me, this is in the old universe, right? Not the one that changed with the 2009 Star Trek.
It takes place prior to the Kelvin timeline. This takes place before Spock goes back in time following the Nero.
So it's between Enterprise and an original series. Is that correct?
I'm not sure
it's
where
before Kirk, it's before Spock, and it's before Enterprise.
I think it's after Enterprise, because there's a Federation.
Yep. It's 10 years, 10 years before the original series.
Okay. So the reason why is because I would have liked to have seen it look more like traditional Trek. And that's the only thing that I have a negative in this column, because I gotta say, I was ready, like, even a week before on this podcast, I was making fun of Star Trek Discovery. And when this came out, this restored a lot of my faith in it. It looks like it's not cheap. It looks like it's going to actually be of good quality, and it's given me enough to give it a fair chance. Even, like, okay, obviously I don't have to pay for CBS All Access, because I've talked about before, it's going to be on my cable provider, but I think that it's given me a lot more hope than anything that I've seen in the last 2 years or whatever we've been talking about this. And the only downside that I have is I would like to have seen the look of the uniform, look of the other things line more up with TOS, because in my mind, what happened here is, like, the look in the current cinematic universe of Star Trek is very different than a lot of what we saw in the previous Star Trek universe. And my thoughts on that was that it changed because, of the butterfly effect, right? With the events that happened in the 2009 Star Trek. And I don't like how this is reminding me a lot of what we see in 2009 plus Star Trek. So I really, really would have liked to see it more in line with TOS, like it was headed that way. And then all of a sudden the 2009 things happened and it changed. So that's what I would have liked to see.
Can I tell you my favorite thing about this trailer is Doug Jones.
Which one's Doug Jones?
Doug Jones is the alien that senses death.
Oh, yes. Yep. Yes, that was good.
He is absolutely amazing in this.
Yeah, that, I didn't know that he was a person, but that does, he was on my radar. I didn't know he was a name.
Oh, Doug Jones is like one of the biggest creature actors out there. Like, you need somebody that plays a creature or an alien. Doug Jones is like your go-to guy.
Oh, I didn't know that. Are you serious?
He's like the Andy Serkis of creatures, where Andy Serkis does a lot of motion capture.
Wow, I had no idea. Crazy.
Yeah.
All right, SP, I know that you were also somewhat excited about this. What did you think of it?
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the cinematic view of it, and I had a similar concern. Like, really, you're only 10 years away from the original series, and it doesn't look like the original series. It looks like the J.J. Abrams and Enterprise had a baby is really what it kind of looked like. But the uniform style really give it away towards the Enterprise style and not towards the original series or the J.J. Abrams style. So I'm just curious what's going on there. I do hope that they do tell us what happened with Porthos, which is Captain Archer's dog from the original one. Apparently Scotty had a terrible transporter accident with the dog. So I'm really worried about what happened to Porthos. And I do want to see that resolved in this series. And the other thing is, I don't think that sci-fi today can do what they've done before in the episodic version, like Babylon 5, Star Trek. I think it just doesn't work anymore. Take a look at the successful series, Battlestar Galactica, The Expanse. They're short or shorter, and they have amazing cinema quality effects. And that is what people want in sci-fi today. So I think this goes in that direction. So we'll see if it's successful or not. The difference here between Battlestar Galactica and The Expanse and this is behind a paid wall beyond the cable. I mean, you have to pay what, $10 a month for the CBS All Access. I don't know a lot of people that are actually going to pop for it on CBS. If it was bundled with something else like sci-fi or skiffy or siffy or whatever you want to call them in their rebrand.
Sci-fi.
Yeah, maybe, but just alone, I just don't think it's going to happen. I think CBS has not done its proper marketing.
I've thought about this quite a bit, and there is a large issue with people like yourself assuming that. And what it is you're assuming that the make or break is going to be the United States market. And you got to remember, because this is going to go on Netflix everywhere else except for Canada. And Canada, it's on a cable provider and then going to some other crappy streaming service. So I have actually said what you said, and I've begun to doubt that a little bit based off of what I'm seeing, because that is just making the assumption that the U.S. market will make or break it.
Well, okay, that's a good thing that you bring that out. That is an assumption, but I'll counter with this. If you go to fan conventions, where are the big ones? They're in the United States. Yes, there are fan conventions in other countries, Australia, New Zealand, Japan, China, maybe, I don't know, Canada, UK. But the big ones where these people get the biggest bang for the buck are in the United States. And
that's just about any property, though.
Yeah. So I don't know what to say there.
Travel to those too. There's a huge international presence you have for big Trek conventions and things like SDCC.
And I think there's the other obvious thing that we've got here, which is the piracy factor, which could very well happen too with this. We don't know. We don't know.
I mean,
but it's the piracy factor is not going to keep it on the air.
It's true. But they might get enough if their deal was sweet enough with the Netflix international rights, they might not care what they get through All Access, right? They might have cashed out enough.
No. They're leveraging the future of CBS All Access on Trek fans' pocketbooks right here. That's why this was supposed to debut when CBS All Access launched, because it was going to be a way to make a bunch of people who really want to see a new Star Trek property shell out $9 a month to them to watch it on an exclusive streaming service. That's why episode 1 was originally planned to air on CBS TV, so they could be like, hey guys, here's this exclusive show. Here's your taste. First taste is free. Now, if you want it, come subscribe. Or just be like, 3 letters for you, VPN.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we don't know, because we don't know what deal they made with Netflix. We don't know.
Right.
It can't be that big. It can't be big enough to sustain a high cinematic quality production on a serial program. It can't be that high. It's barely that high to do HBO's Game of Thrones and AMC's Walking Dead.
Here's the other thing that we don't know yet. We don't know what footage do we see. It could be what we talked about earlier with talking about the slim pickings of different trailers. For all we know, it's super high production value the first couple episodes and then nothing. So we don't know. But in any case, I'm excited for this now after seeing it.
So that Netflix deal happened for one reason. It's an easy way to do international distribution. You can't subscribe to CBS All Access outside of the United States of America. So how are they going to make it so people abroad can see Star Trek that want to see it? Put it on Netflix. It's the same reason why in England you had Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul on Netflix like the day after it aired in the United States, because it was the best way to handle the international distribution, because Netflix has made a big play in the recent year or so to be everywhere, basically. Where if I have Netflix in Australia, I have Australia specific stuff. But now they're signing deals so that, like any Netflix show, the deal is on all markets. A lot of the new shows they're signing, it is, we buy the rights to broadcast this in all of our markets. So this is an easy way for them to do that where CBS can't.
Right.
Yeah. I guess we'll see. I don't know. All I know is I don't have to pay the first year.
Hey, and CBS must have a good feeling on this, because assuming I remember the news I read correctly, they signed another 3 episodes of Star Trek Discovery, and then are basically doing their own version of a Talking Dead show like Chris Hardwick does after Star Trek Discovery airs each week.
Oh,
That's
I didn't.
terrible.
Yeah.
And CBS, we volunteer to host that. If you give us CBS All Access subscriptions, we'll be glad to host your Talking Discovery show for you.
My participation is contingent upon receiving a 2017 GMC Sierra 4x4.
Okay, so everyone but SP will do it just for a subscription to CBS All Access.
I hate to tell you this, but Sunkast and I have actually made a deal with CBS, and what you don't know is that Suncast and I have actually made a deal to use the Big Brother house during the off season. It's going to be Suncast and Steven. It's going to be like the odd couple. That's what it's going to be. Him and I are moving into the Big Brother house.
Nobody's gonna watch
Dude,
that.
let's do it.
Nobody. Because
Are you kidding me?
the first sucker that you eat, then it's gonna be game over at that point in time, Steven. You're gonna be roofied.
That's true. But that makes for good TV, so I'll do what it takes, okay?
If nothing else, we'll put it on GFQ.
All right, so let's just quickly move to our extra with a couple of quick picks here. And the first off that we've got here is that apparently there has been a deal made between Qualcomm and BlackBerry. And by deal made, we mean royalties properly paid that were previously neglected to be paid by Qualcomm, right?
Yeah.
So, Sunkast, you actually linked us this, so you go ahead and share this story.
Okay, so I don't know the full details of this, but apparently Qualcomm and BlackBerry have been going through litigation for a number of years now over some patents or some sort of patents that they believe that Qualcomm used from BlackBerry, and BlackBerry sued Qualcomm for a series of money. So the initial judgment was $840 million. That has now been revised to $940 million that BlackBerry is going to receive from Qualcomm as royalty payments for using these patents. Now, the reason why the fee went up from like 840 to 940 was that they wanted to include the fees for the litigation, the lawyer fees, the court costs, and that sort of thing. But this is pretty interesting that now, it's 2017. BlackBerry is getting nearly $1 billion, which they desperately need because they ain't making money on hardware anymore.
No.
This is crazy to me because, as the resident Canadian, I want BlackBerry to succeed, but I know that it's just a matter of time till it's a thing of the past. Like it should be dead by now. Like it really should. It should not exist.
Be. But they still own QNX or whatever that automotive division is that they have now, that they're trying to move into the automotive world, and that's really where their bread and butter is going to come from the foreseeable future, because nobody's buying BlackBerry phones anymore.
No, and I'm fearful of this because this might just take them to go do something even stupider and just really wreck their company, right?
Stupider. That's a great word there.
It's your word of the day, your Stephen Jondrew word of the day calendar. But yeah, I think that I don't trust them getting this amount of money is what I'm trying to say. I really don't.
Well, I think it's just going to delay the inevitable.
Yeah. I know that you, Chris, you said that you wish that your Android was a BlackBerry, right?
Yes, I would love to have that. Just like I'd love to have Laurel Lance back on Arrow, because just like BlackBerry, she's the best thing ever.
All right. And SP, you also said that you actually have a stack of 10 BlackBerries on your desk right now, right?
I used to use BlackBerry for work. We were issued BlackBerries, and I got pretty adept at tapping out the emails on them, particularly when I was on a flight or something and bus ride, and I was clicking away and clacking away at it, and it was great to use. I think that is not easily replicable with the current touchscreens, because you just can't go as fast. I can't go as fast. I can go pretty fast, but I can't go that fast. Besides, my fat thumbs kind of don't hit all the right keys. So I did enjoy it, but I enjoy my apps more now. So I'll take my apps versus the ability to quickly tap out a message.
Yeah, and I think that's what most people find is that the overall modern smartphone feel is a lot better for the average Joe on a day-to-day basis. And there are some people who still like the BlackBerry. I know people who have just recently been forced off of the BlackBerry by their company and they miss it. So I think there is still a very teeny market there, but it is a very, very teeny market. The next thing that we've got in our quick picks here is, oh man, this is a new device that was created by Asus. That's right. The wireless router has long... Asus, whatever. They're all the same. And it's long looked the same. A little black box. Maybe you occasionally get a color. And it's got antennas. And you got some ports. Well, Asus said that they wanted to make it a little bit different. And that's what they did. They made it I would call it a cube, but it does not appear fully cubic. But it kind of looks like a device that goes on your desk. Oh, I know what it looks like. It looks like one of those Dyson fans that you put on your desk with the little circle in the middle with a couple ports slapped on the bottom of it. It's an interesting concept that they made it this big because it looks quite large compared to a regular average size router.
It's hideous. Absolutely hideous. I'm sorry, but it's just like, I'm looking at that thing and I'm just like, what? Where do I put this?
Yeah, so the look doesn't do anything for me. In my use case, what my router looks like doesn't really matter because it sits on a shelf in my office where it broadcasts the rest of the house. I understand sort of what their thought is here in trying to make something that looks like a piece of modern art or something like that, because the hope that a lot of these guys have now is make this router be either pretty looking or unobtrusive so you can scatter them throughout the house for the best coverage. That's why you've seen things like Google Wi-Fi where it's 3 little hockey pucks you put throughout your house because they're unobtrusive. This is just potentially the wrong play of trying to make a router that is deemed, quote, stylish, so that you'd want to put it out where people can see it and have a conversation piece. If it broadcasts good Wi-Fi for me, I don't care. It's going in the basement. But if I'm someone who wants to put it in my living room to get the best coverage, I'm not choosing it because it's ugly as sin.
Yeah, there's better looking routers out there. Netgear has one called the Orbi, which is very nice looking, and it actually looks like something that you would want to put out where people can see it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just too much for me. It's too much space, too much real estate. I don't get it, but whatever. I guess I'm not the target demographic. Let's go ahead and move on to our last segment, which is talking another piece of gear. What? All right, so let's go ahead and talk about another product. Now, this is something that caught all of our attentions because I don't know if you're familiar with this, but all 4 of us here like to do this thing called podcasting. Now,
What?
I know. Now, podcasting is this place that you can talk, and it's kind of like a radio play on your iPod. Kind of like that. Kind of like that. I don't know. Google it. You can find out what a podcast is there. And we were very interested to see that there has been a new device that is geared towards making sort of a one-stop shop for podcasters. Now, for those not familiar, there is a fellow named Adam Curry, and Adam Curry is titled the father of podcasting. I think he's got another name of it, but just something like that. He is deemed one of the 2 fathers of podcasting because Adam Curry was, what was he, a VJ? One of the original MTV VJs? Is that what he was?
Yeah.
Yeah,
he was on MTV.
Yeah, and then he ended up being, like I said, one of the creators of podcasting, and so he is deemed the father, and he's still got shows going and all that. A little bit older now, and a lot of people like how he sounds, and that's what they say. Oh, I like how you sound. You sound great. And he is committed to the idea that you don't need to have all of this different gear. You don't need to bring everything in and add a bunch of effects afterwards. You should be able to record a podcast, and assuming you do it 100% perfect without any edit points, you're ready to go. And that's what he has made, is a device that is supposed to do this. Now, this is something that is currently on Indiegogo. And for you watching the video side of things, you can see what the current prototype looks like. It's simple. It's got a few buttons, it's got a couple of knobs, and it's got a display. And what it's supposed to do is a whole bunch of different functions, a couple of mic functions. It's supposed to end up also, like I said, doing some of that compression, all of the stuff that a lot of times people do to enhance their sound later afterwards in different audio editing software. It's supposed to do all of that there. And
yeah, specifically, it's got a noise gate, EQ, compression, and it also does mix minus.
Yeah, and there's supposed to be some form of Skype integration, but I think that the details are not clear on that. They mentioned Skype in the information, but I don't know that if it's connecting by USB and acting as a sound card.
USB.
Is it? Okay.
It's mainly by USB because a lot of those extra channels that you're getting for this, it's got I think 2 in, 2 out. As long as what you see on the back of that are mainly analog, but then everything else is done digitally through the USB port.
Yeah. Okay. So then, again, it's trying to be this one-stop shop. That's all. It's supposed to just be a one-stop shop and make sure that it's easy for people to just record a high quality sound. Now, Adam Curry has been teasing this for a while on various podcast communities, and he finally announced this last week, and there have been a few different levels that have been introduced as incentives for people who want to back this. Now, before we get to those incentives, I'm going to turn that over to SP to talk about those incentives for a minute. I want Chris to remind everybody a little bit about what Indiegogo is, because I know that he loves crowdfunding and all this other stuff, and he is the crowdfunding master.
I wouldn't say I'm the master, but Indiegogo is very similar to Kickstarter, which is you can back and support projects to help them come to fruition. If you support a project and they promise a property, you're not guaranteed you're going to get that. You're basically an angel investor if you support something on Indiegogo and Kickstarter. Many projects do come to fruition successfully with no problem, but there are some out there where you might not get your product. I talked about the Portal Wi-Fi router on this show before. That was a Kickstarter project for me. I had a lot of luck with that. Everything came through very smoothly. I've supported a lot of comic books and board games on Kickstarter, and I think I've done a couple documentaries on Indiegogo. So I've been fairly successful, but the thing you have to remember is there's never a guarantee that you'll get what's promised. In the case of this one with Adam Curry, I would say you're going to get what's promised to you because he's been doing a lot of work with his team and he's a name out there. There would be a big hit to his reputation if this was not successful, if it were funded.
Well, yeah, okay. I got a couple of issues with the whole concept of this device. Okay, I think that somebody of Adam Curry's level, I think it should be beyond Indiegogo myself personally. Okay, that's one of the things that I initially go here.
It's the easy platform to get it out there, I think, is how they're looking at it.
Yeah, I guess so. But I think that the incentives, which I'm going to turn over to Sunkast, or to SP to talk about, show the level of exposure that this device had even without Indiegogo. Go ahead, SP.
So I'm just looking at the Indiegogo page right now, and there was an early bird, which there's still 53 left at $497. And I think that's probably the most I would pay for this anyway. I don't think I'd pay that much. I'd pay maybe half, maybe 300 for something like this. Just saying, it doesn't have mix minus, or at least I can't get separate audio out to my recorder. It goes out in stereo. There's limitations to this. I mean, it's good. If I was on the road and I wanted something small, this might be something, but there are other things out there that are equivalently priced that I might want to go to instead that look a little bit more professional than this particular thing does. I debated actually getting one and I decided not to. So $497 is you get the early bird one. Now, actual retail price for the Podcaster Pro turns out to be about $550, $547 for an unlimited amount of Podcaster Pros here. And if you want a first run for another $7, you can do that. There are combos, an early bird mic combo with a mic selected by Adam himself. I have no idea what that mic is. It doesn't say. That's almost $600 at $597. You can get a headphone combo for $597. I'm sorry, I'm going to pick my own headphones. Why do I need Adam Curry to pick all of my gear? I don't understand. I have these gear bundles available at BSW Warehouse, and they don't even get it right because they're not providing the right equipment. They've got condenser microphones instead of dynamic microphones. They've started to pander a little bit more to podcasters because I think the word was getting out that they didn't have the right stuff. But here is, I think, where Steven wants me to go. It's these stupid signature editions. Why would I? Stupider. Why would I pay $647 just so I can get Adam Curry's signature on it? And it's not actually a signature. It's probably going to be a stamp or
it's laser engraved on a premium side.
Yeah. And then it's not just Adam Curry. You can get a John Lee Dumas signature edition. And for those of you that don't know the podcaster space, John Lee Dumas, or JLD as he is known, is the king of entrepreneurs in the podcast space. And I'm actually on his email list because I wanted to know what this guy was doing that was so special. This guy is just hustling and hustling and hustling. It reminds me, by the way, of the Amway of the 80s and 90s. and it's just, it rubs me the wrong way. A lot of people like John Lee Dumas. I could care less for how he goes about stuff, but that's just me. There's a signature edition for the owner of Raw Voice Media, who owns Blueberry and also has run the podcast awards. Todd Cochran has the signature edition. I don't know why Todd Cochran is seen as a person that needs a signature edition on this, but apparently there's a level that Adam Curry has. And oh, by the way, you can tell how many people chose this. 3 people chose the Todd Cochran signature edition. The Dan Benjamin signature edition, nobody's chosen that yet. Mike Coing's signature edition, nobody's chosen that yet. Brian Brushwood, nobody's chosen that, and that's $647. All of those signature editions were $647. Well, now we get a little bit higher in the Indiegogo. You can get a signature first run Adam Curry for $727. And then if you're really into the podcaster community and you want to go to those conventions, there's a $747 podcaster movement special edition. And if you want your unit hand built by Adam Curry and possibly come with faults with it, $999. And 3 people. I've been in the tech space for a long time, guys, and whenever a program manager goes into the factory to actually build stuff, it is filled and fraught with errors and stuff that doesn't work. And so you could get this right now because there's 53 available for $497. But no, you double that price to $999 and you can get a hand-built one by Adam. And it might not work. I'm just telling you. I would worry about it working if I was.
I'm totes getting that one.
Right.
Okay.
So if you wanted it, no. Wait. The big one. So if you don't want just one, if you want a pack of 3, like those Amazon little dot things, you can get a pack of 3 for almost $1,500. Wow. Adam, you have outpaced yourself from what the average podcaster. Now let's back up a second because Lipson gives these numbers. The average mean podcaster, 50% of the podcasters out there get below 200 downloads per episode. I can guarantee you they are not monetizing their audience at the point where they can afford this. So you are sinking this amount of money in there, whereas I would say all you need to start is a $40 USB XLR microphone right now. You don't need this to start out with. So I don't know where his base is. I don't know who he thinks is going to do this. And right now, with a month left, there's 130 backers that have raised $53,000. Who are these idiots?
Okay, so really quick, I want to chime in on a couple quick points. Number one, the different incentives to me shows an obvious play here. This is why I think there are all these different incentives of the quote different signatures. If we look at the different people that are selected, they are different factions within the podcast communities. They're different podcast communities, and they all have their own sort of people that are part of their system. And that's what I think they're doing here. Is I think Adam Curry or whoever's behind this decided to go, I want you to reach out because you are the father of podcasting. Reach out to these people, do an interview here and there if they ask you, and get on their good side so that you can offer them a small payment here, a certain kickback to use their name. And now you are getting into their community because now you've got their name on it. I think it's a total ploy to break into these communities. And honestly, I know Adam Curry recently went on one of these named people's podcasts to do an interview. I think it was a total BS setup to really sweeten the pot and help lock down that individual into doing this. The second thing that I got to say with this as well is that I hate the fact that how this is presented is, if you watch the video of this, and we won't talk on this too long because we know it's only a small portion of you that enjoy this sort of stuff, but his big push is that he wants to make a device that requires no post-production editing. Well, I'm sorry, Adam, but a lot of people coming into the podcast industry are not decade-old media personalities. You've been VJing for a long time. You know how it works. People coming into the industry, they are going to make mistakes and mistakes and mistakes and have to re-record things. And to market this as a device that means that you don't need to do any editing is crap, because the people who don't have the mic skills that you do, the personality that you do, are going to have to re-record things over and over. And I take huge issue with trying to make this a device and brand this as a device that saves you editing. The only thing that it does is save you post-processing with the audio enhancement. It's not fixing your ums or your ahs, and it irritates the hell out of me that he is trying to say this is a device that saves you from editing.
So let me play devil's advocate a second here. While I am not going to be purchasing one, I kind of see where they might be coming from on this. We are not the target audience for this, guys. We've got mixers, we've got our own equipment so that we can dial things in how we want it. Your beginning podcaster is also not the target for this, because they're like, I want to get started. I want to chat with my friends about some things or something like that. So they're going out there and they're getting the $40 to $100 microphone to start out with things, if they're not on a USB headset or not. What this is targeting is that intermediate level guy who's like, I want to up my game. I'm not sure how to do it. And the thing is, Adam's a name out there. Adam's been doing this for a long time. If they're basing a lot of the science on this behind his EQ, how he handles things on his side, I can see the appeal from the intermediate podcaster level to be like, hey, this is going to handle my having to figure out how to set up my equalizers right, how to figure out how to get my mic and things like that to work right. I can pay $650 and get a microphone that they say is going to work the best with this. I'm going to get all of my EQ set up right for me. Everything's going to work just right out of the box. It's the Apple of podcasting, guys. It just works is what they're going for here. Like I said, we're not the targets.
But it doesn't work. There are faults with the technology.
Seen it, really?
Yeah. There's faults with the technology. It will provide a noise gate, but it won't get rid of the background noise in your room. It's not a magic box. It's combining technology that we all have or know about, and it's not magic. It needs to be used in a certain manner in order to achieve the best result. And I think that the people that are buying this are just going on Adam's word that this is all you'll ever need. No, it's not going to work like that. And I think some people are going to be disappointed, and they might not feel like they can say something because they're feeling pressured by the Podfather. Excuse me.
Podfather. That was the term I was looking for. Sunkast, I want to turn it to you for a second here, because I know that you actually know about some similar products.
I do, but let me tell you what the biggest problem I have with this device is. Biggest problem is that there is no Andrew Zarian signature edition. I would have bought one yesterday if there had been a freaking Andrew Zarian signature edition of this device. But no, there's not. Adam Curry, why is there no Andrew Zarian signature edition for this?
Funny enough, there is an Adam Zarian version. There is an Adam Zarian version.
Well, no, there are other products out there like this. Probably the most notable is the Universal Audio Apollo, and they have several different models. One of them being like a Twin Mark II. I know a lot of people have used this device. It's a hardware digital sound processor. It's DSP. I'm not exactly sure what the acronym is for, but essentially it's a hardware device that you can set up, and it'll do a lot of similar stuff using plugins, software plugins. And yes, it can get expensive buying these devices and the plugins, but you're already spending $500 for this. If you've got $500, you've got $1,000. Plain and simple. That's just it. If you're going to spend that much money, you could get something that's maybe a little bit more money that offers a lot more flexibility.
Yeah, I do understand what Chris was saying earlier. I think there is a specific niche this is geared towards, but
sure.
I do question how it's going to, what the end result's going to be. I do very much question that. I hope that it can deliver, because I do know okay, here's the thing. I see all the time, the crazy things that I can do and clear up within plugins in post-production. I do that, and it takes me, when somebody has like a super noisy track that's echoey or whatever, I think it takes me like 20 minutes to render. Like, when you're thinking about that, if it's doing this on the fly, because, maybe you're not, I don't know, are you hearing back how it sounds, or is this happening in the digital sense? I could see it doing a lot of this on the fly, because I can see how it only takes 20 minutes to do post-production stuff afterwards. So it could be doing it in sort of a buffering sense, but I am very skeptical on the end result. I know he's put out something today with an update. It sounds pretty good. Some people say it's over compressed, but the thing is, everybody is looking for a different sound, and that is one of the things that this is targeted to, is people who want to change their sound on their mic. It's going to give you flexibility. There are different presets, just like you can do with any editing software now. So I think that while his sample is super compressed, that is a legitimate sound that some people strive for. If you listen to radio stations, how often is there variance within different stations? There are some people have a certain... Listen to Sirius XM. There's your greatest example of it. Different Sirius XM stations are EQ'd and compressed in different manners because of the target demographics. So I don't know. I'm waiting to see what happens. It's not for me.
Like I said, we're not the target on this, but hey, if we get an Andrew Zarian signature edition, I might consider it.
Well, I'm so glad that you mentioned the Andrew Zarian edition, because while there is no Andrew Zarian edition, I got to call all four of us, unfortunately, hypocrites, because I discovered that if you went forward and back and then forward twice more and back 3 times and then up and then down, you actually discovered the special page, which showed a couple extra editions that were being offered. And the first one that was being offered was the Sunkast Signature Edition. In the Sunkast Signature Edition, there is Sunkast laser inscribed kiss mark on the underside of the device to ensure awkward lifting to kiss him back. You'll also receive access to his exclusive video on the US's greatest parks. Also included is, of course, 20 expired lollipops. So 20 expired lollipops. So there was that one there. Then there was also another one, which was the Stargate Pioneer Signature Edition. The Stargate Pioneer Signature Edition came with SP's laser-inscribed writing of the brand name Audio-Technica located on the power adapter of the device. You'll also receive the latest edition of GMC's advertisement for the 2017 GMC Sierra. Also included in that, you're going to get an assortment of ads for dynamic microphones.
Sounds like something I would sell.
Exactly,
I approve of this. Yeah. So, Adam, you just get with me and I'll sign whatever contract that we need, of course, with the legitimate kickbacks, and we can get this going.
Yeah. There also was a Stephen Jondrew edition, which it was kind of odd to see, because the Stephen Jondrew Signature Edition comes with Stephen's tongue laser inscribed on the device. Says, "We didn't want this, but all he did when he saw podcast gear was lick it. We're surprised he even did anything. Usually he just makes terrible jokes." Items included are nothing and don't buy this. So that's the Stephen Jondrew edition. And weirdly enough, finally, there was also a Chris Ferrell edition. The Chris Ferrell edition with Chris's forehead inscribed on the front of the device so that you can easily face palm Chris. You'll also receive an exclusive unlicensed Spider-Man comic where every panel is a joke about Steven's mom. Items included, Steven's mom, and Steven's mom.
I heard Dan Slott's going to write that book for him too, which is makes awesome.
So there you go. There's some bonus editions of this if you so choose. But that is taking us to the end of the show. Before we wrap up, we'll just take a moment here to go around the table and plug and promote what we want to do. I'll start off by saying go check out GonnaGeekNetwork.com. Lots of really cool things happening over there. Sunkast, what would you like to plug or promote?
You can follow me on Twitter at Sunkast, and also check out GFQ Network at gfqnetwork.com. We have a bunch of shows on there. We have What the Tech with Paul Thurrott. We have a wrestling show called Matt Men if you're into the WWE wrestling stuff. Even got a hair loss show there. So if you have hair loss or you're concerned about hair loss, check out The Bald Truth.
Awesome. SP, you got anything that you want to plug or promote?
I sure do. I want to promote all the shows on the Gonna Geek Network that have our TV-based shows, and they have done season finale episodes, Crimson Comet, Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D., Starling Tribune, all about the season finale episodes, which just aired in the past couple of weeks. And also, if you're a Doctor Who fan, go check out Gallifrey Public Radio.
Chris, you got anything that you want to plug or promote?
Yeah, real quick, guys, go check out one of the newest editions of the network. We talked about them last week, but again, Operation Pugcast. You can find them over at GonnaGeekNetwork.com. Very happy to have them with us. So seriously, 2 weeks in a row, we're going to say, hey, go check those guys out. They're a lot of fun.
Yep, I listened to them, by the way, and it was a great episode to listen to. So I wholeheartedly recommend it. That's Operation Pugcast, episode 36.
And thank you for the kind words on that. I like that episode. It was a good episode. But that is the end of episode 194 of the official GonnaGeek.com show. I'm Stephen Jondrew. Go buy the Stephen Jondrew Signature Edition.
I just want the Andrew Zarian Signature Edition.
I am the Stargate Pioneer Signature Edition.
Expired lollipops for everybody!
Yay!
Woohoo! I'm getting roofie tonight. Woo!
Wait, what?
Thanks for checking out another episode of the GonnaGeek.com show. If you enjoyed it, please give us a 5-star review in iTunes or a thumbs up on YouTube. We encourage you to send your feedback by email to show@GonnaGeek.com. You can find our entire archive at GonnaGeek.com/show. And while you're there, why not check out all of the other geeky content on the Gonna Geek Network? Want to chime into our live chat? Join us Mondays at 8:45 p.m. Eastern at www.geeks.live. The music heard on this show is by Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech.com. This show was produced and edited by Stephen Jondrew of Gonna Geek Productions. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you again next week.